So guys, what if Naruto had forbidden Mokuton powers and had Harem Part 1? 6-year-old Naruto let go of his mother's hand and ran ahead, taking in the sights. The blue-eyed child looked up towards the magnificent village gates in awe and whispered to himself, "Sugoi." The boy whooped and yelled as he rotated his head around to visually take in the great trees that were famous to Hino Kuni, land of fire, before being hushed by his mother, lest he wake up his sleeping sister that was resting piggyback style on said mother. He sent her a bashful grin before turning back to his surroundings. The atmosphere felt amazing for him here. He didn't know why, but he felt more alive here than home. It was such a strange sensation. Despite Kushina hushing the child for his sister's sake, who was sleeping on her back, she couldn't help but look at her son with fondness evident in her eyes. This would be the first time she took her son and daughter to visit Konohagakure no Sato, village of the hidden leaves, for her monthly visit. She knew she should have taken them sooner, but it would have been too dangerous for them. After all, the war had just ended and she was sure there were some bitter shinobis out there that would like nothing better than to assassinate her or her children. However, her passage to Konoha was well guarded now with many sentries posted, and she felt she could now take her babies to visit their father's village. She loved Hino Kuni, but there were two main reasons for her visit. The first one was known generally throughout the elemental nations. Obviously, having one of the most dangerous shinobi alive as your husband was a pretty hard secret to keep from the public eye. Yes, visiting your husband once a month was a proper reason for one to visit Konoha. This was the surface reason known to the public as to why visiting Konoha was in her monthly schedule. However, there was a second reason that Kushina visited Konoha monthly, a reason that was unknown but to a few people in the world. Kushina's seal as the second Jinchuriki was shoddy. Her decision to become a host for the most powerful chakra entity was a rushed split-second decision and was made in a situation that was life-threatening. Because of this, demonic chakra was constantly seeping out of her poorly constructed seal. Perhaps if it wasn't a novice who had performed the seal during battle and instead a seal master from her village had done it, the process would have gone better. Oh well, she wasn't angry about it. It was either have Mito Ba-chan die or have her live for a few more years, and any extra time with precious family was worth it any day in her book. Unfortunately, the great Mito Uzumaki died at age 139 last year. The longevity of being an Uzumaki was astounding. However, even the Uzumaki bloodline wasn't immune against the mightiest of the Biju. If Mito hadn't had the Kyuubi in her system, she would have lived a long and prosperous life like every other Uzumaki, reaching ages that span to around 200. Even that type of lifespan should be possible for even a shinobi. Because of the Kyuubi constantly destabilizing her chakra coils, she was forced to go to Konoha for a special medical treatment. Thankfully, due to her connection with Konoha via husband and ancestry, she was able to get the Shodaime Hokage's blood through blood transfusion, seeing as to how they kept vials of the first Hokage's blood in a vault. Which, by the way, was completely odd to her. But she wasn't complaining. It helped her adjust to life effectively. The bloodline that the Shodaime had coursing through his veins acted as a natural repellent against the Kyuubi's demonic chakra, effectively stabilizing the amount of Yuki that leaked through her coils. What Kushina was most worried about were the twins in her stomach, constantly absorbing the Kyuubi's chakra. Luckily, Hashirama's cells must have worked better than she or anyone else had anticipated, because there were no side effects present in Naruto or Narumi, other than the whisker marks on her son only. But to Kushina and the village of Uzushiogakure, the strange whisker marks endeared the boy furthermore into their hearts. Although she supposed there could be a third reason for her monthly visit if she thought about it, letting the twins see their father was a pretty good bonus in her book, right? She turned her head to her sleeping daughter's face that rested on her shoulder and planted a kiss on the blonde girl's forehead before looking towards her son. Naruto, don't go too far. Stay close to me, nay. But Ka-san, it's so different, Naruto yelled back ecstatically. Kushina chuckled as her little whiskered blonde drank in everything his little blue eyes could. It wasn't often Naruto got out and about. The huge structure in Konoha wasn't something he wasn't used to. In Uzushiogakure, there were no need for tall walls and there wasn't a constant bustling street filled with villagers. The land of the whirlwind was surrounded by constant whirlpools, so there was never a need for the protective structures. Why need it when the whirlpool destroyed any non-wanted visitors? The islands were spaced, but there were plenty of people. It just wasn't constantly busy like here. Naru-chan, are you excited to see Tu-san? Kushina asked. Suddenly the exuberance that the little blonde was emitting dissipated into thin air. Kushina frowned as Naruto glanced at her with a crestfallen expression. "Yeah, Ka-san, I am really excited," he spoke dully. "Yeah, right. Sochi, are you still upset about?" "It's nothing," came the rather bland interjection. Naruto glared sullenly at the buildings his gaze had just held off for. He had completely forgotten about his father by blood being here. Well, he didn't actually forget about him, but he just ignored the fact of the matter that he would be here. The mere thought of the man sent Naruto into a state of anger. What kind of man leaves his family? Naruto understood that his father was the Hokage of his village, but couldn't he visit his mom and him once in the past 6 years? Kushina looked at her son sadly. She had hoped that visiting his father now could cure the fact that Minato hadn't visited once in his lifetime. The red-haired Jinchuriki sighed. "Naruto, you have to understand, he's the Hokage of this village and is the most powerful man of his village. He has to stay and see that his village remains in order. Your sister understands, why can't you?" Naruto crossed his arms in defiance. "HMPH. I am not Narumi and he's still a baka." He glanced at his sister's sleeping form, her pigtails still short, barely hanging past her cheeks. Like himself, his sister had blonde hair. However, unlike himself and like their mother, she had violet eyes. Kushina admonished Naruto with an amused face. "Naru-chan. What did I tell you about saying mean stuff?" The little blonde shuffled away from his mom nervously. "Wait, Ka-san. I was kidding. Please don't do anything. Sochi, tell me what I told you from the beginning about saying mean stuff," Kushina all but demanded as she created a cage bunshin. Naruto looked at her fearfully. "That if I said mean stuff again, you'd tickle me to dia no mom stop haha aahahaha." Naruto was cut off as Kushina lunged at him and proceeded to tickle the boy into tears of laughter. "Oh okay. Ah hop wah, stop. I'm done mom. I promise." She pulled Naruto up into a makeshift carry with the boy facing her face and his legs dangling loosely at her waist, similar to the position his twin sister was in. "Naru-chan, just give him a chance please, for me," Kushina pleaded. "But Ka-san, please, maybe." Naruto pointed his stubby finger at her. "But if I do, I want unlimited ramen for a whole week." "Deal." Kushina smiled cheerfully. Naruto, for his age, was actually pretty clever. She didn't know where it came from. Sure, her and Minato were excellent shinobis and powerful in their own rights, but none of them were super prodigal geniuses that Naruto was beginning to show signs of. Narumi was a bit of an oddball. The blonde pig-tailed girl had about the same chakra reserves as her slightly older brother, but she fell, perhaps, about 10% beneath his. She was nowhere near his intelligence level. She was more ordinary than Naruto was. That didn't mean Kushina didn't love Narumi as much as Naruto, but they were just different. The boy was constantly finishing puzzles beyond what he should be doing. Heck, some of the puzzles had her stumped for an hour or two, whereas her boy had finished it in 10 to 15 minutes. Not to mention he was already quite adept at Fui. "Can you put me down now, mom? It's sort of embarrassing." Naruto pouted with a cute blush on his cheeks. "Ah, Naru-chan, you don't like being carried by your mom." "I am gonna pee on you, mom," Naruto deadpanned. "Gross, Sochi." Narumi sleepily woke up and yawned cutely. "What's going on?" X the genocide's testimony X. As soon as Naruto stepped through the giant gates that led to Konoha's village, a crowd appeared with excitement on their face. "Look, it's Kushina-sama. She's so beautiful. She's so perfect for our Hokage. Wait, who are they by her side? The boy looks just like the Yondaime. The girl looks more like the Yondaime. They're twins, you idiot. Could it be? Are they their offspring?" Naruto's head was constantly swiveling around rapidly as he hid behind his mother's form. Azure eyes constantly darted around nervously as the unwanted attention seemed to be increasing on him and his mother. The whiskered boy tugged at his mom and whispered in a fearful hushed voice, "Ka-san, why are they staring and talking about us like that?" Narumi on the side was basking in all the attention. She had a strut to her stride and was waving happily at everyone, earning their squeals of affectionate excitement. Kushina let out a soft giggle at her daughter's antic while Naruto tried minimizing his form to be less noticeable. "Sochi, it's okay. Your sister is enjoying the attention. Besides, you should remember I told you that your two-san was an important man. All the more reason they shouldn't be staring at me like that. Tell them to go away, Ka-san." Kushina rolled her eyes. The logic of a child was irrefutable. The scarlet-haired mother swept up her son and gave him a knowing smile. Naruto grinned excitedly at her look. He loved when his mother did this. It made him feel like he was flying when she used that particular jutsu. Without forming any hand seals, the violet-eyed mother grabbed a surprised Narumi and performed a flawless Shunshin no Jutsu right after Naruto let out a yelp of excitement. Naruto let out a loud whoop as he was set on the ground. "Let's do that again, Mom." "Again, please." Kushina smiled warmly at her son. "When we go home, K." Naruto sighed with a slightly dejected slump before straightening back up. "Since my birthday's coming up, can you teach me that jutsu?" Narumi pouted as she inserted herself into the conversation. "Ka-chan. Why would you do that? I was enjoying myself, why no?" She then punched her brother, "And it's our birthday. Get it right." Her brother stuck his tongue out at her in response. "Naru-chan, you're 6 years old, that is way too young for anyone to be learning jutsus." Kushina scolded. Naruto crossed his arms in defiance. "The future Uzukage waits for no one, Datbeo." Kushina rolled her eyes. Yeah, alrighty, tell me Naru-chan, do you know where we are?" "I dunno, it's a room with a view of the village. Is this a hotel?" "An office. It looks like an office. But why are we in an office? That makes no sense, unless you're trying to make me do some work." Naruto cried out as he pointed an accusing finger at his mom. "The future Uzukage doesn't do homework." "You are certainly right that this isn't a hotel room with a nice room. You were half correct when you said this is an office. However, this isn't no ordinary office. It's the Hokage's office." A somewhat deep yet soft baritone spoke from behind Naruto. The whiskered boy let out a startled yelp and scrambled behind his mother. "Who the hell do you think you are?" Naruto screamed in indignant anger while Narumi stared wide-eyed at the man in front of her. Kushina bopped her son on the head. "Language." Naruto let out a pout. "Fine." He turned to the man who had scared him. "Who the heck do you think you are?" He looked at his mother and gave her a small smile accompanied with a thumbs up before redirecting a glare towards the man. "Mama, Naru-kun, your mom told me that you were quite smart for your age. You really can't figure it out?" One Minato Namikaze asked with a warm smile. Narumi seemingly shrank behind her brother's form as Minato planted his soft and warm gaze on her. "Narumi-chan, you are so beautiful. Maybe more so than your Ka-chan." Naruto scoffed as Mito blushed. Of course he figured it out, the man looked just like him. But he wasn't gonna acknowledge him as a father just like that. He knew that he said he'd be neutral, but just the sight of the man made Naruto's blood start to boil. "HMPH. As far as I know, you're just a random old creeper." Kushina looked on at the scene with amusement as her husband carried a distraught and depressed raincloud over his slumped form. "How cruel, Naruto." The Yondaime wept before straightening up with a grin. "I am your father." "Narumi, Naruto." Kushina focused an observant eye unto the children for their reaction her children would surely show. She waited for several moments before realizing that Naruto was indifferent to the revelation of the man in front of him was his father while Narumi looked conflicted. Naruto yawned. "Okay." He turned to his mother. "Ka-san, can we, you, Narumi and I, get some ramen now? The one you mentioned was the best ever." Minato Namikaze adorned a shocked look while Kushina's expression took on a sad one. Naruto, ignoring both the former and the latter's expressions, started walking towards the door he presumed to be the exit. "Ka-san, I'll wait for you outside. I am sure you and Hokage-sama has plenty of things to discuss. It was a pleasure meeting you, Hokage-sama." With nothing left to be said, Naruto marched out without a second glance. Narumi threw a longing look at both adults before ultimately following her brother. A speechless Namikaze turned a slightly alarmed look towards his wife who simply sighed. "I am sorry, Minato, but they are still bitter about the fact that you haven't came to visit at all." Kushina spoke softly. "Okami, I should have expected this. I have nothing to say to defend myself from that. He is completely right in being angry with me." Narumi seems upset as well. "Otto, husband, we knew what we were getting into when we made love that night. Do not blame yourself. You are the cage of one of the biggest and powerful village and you have responsibilities you have to attend to," Kushina said fiercely while embracing the Hokage. Minato didn't meet her gaze. "I know, but I can't help but feel that I failed as a father and husband." "Well then, guess you have to start now, right?" Come, let's get some ramen with our children Databane, Kushina asked with a supportive smile. Minato gave his scarlet-haired wife a grateful smile. I suppose so. Shall we? The genocide's testimony Ha. That oughta show him. I am not gonna let him waltz into my life like everything's okay. Naru, was it really okay to be like that? Narumi asked in a small voice. She understood her brother's anger and she hated approaching this topic, but their first interaction with their father went way more worse than she expected. Most definitely. But he's our dad. No Mi-chan. Don't say that, he will never be my dad. The pig-tailed girl frowned. She was upset that the Yondaime, her father, couldn't make time, but she was more than willing to give her father a chance. Naruto was a great male and he seemed older than he was, but she really wanted a father figure. Naruto's smug face quickly turned into a scowl as he saw another person accompanying his mother. Greetings Hokage-sama, are you leaving the office so soon? Naruto asked coolly. Minato gave a cheery smile in response. I sure am, Naru-chan. In fact, I decided that I'd spend some time with my family. Is that okay with you, Narumi-chan? The Hokage's smile widened at his daughter's shy nod. Kushina gave a hard stare at her son. Sochi, remember what we discussed before we came here? Naruto matched his mother's stern glare for several moments before relenting with a sigh. All right, let's get going. He looked at his mother. Go ahead, Ka-san, lead the way. Naruto trailed back as he allowed his mother and sister to take the lead. He waited a few more seconds to allow his father, and he used the term loosely, to walk ahead with his mom, but saw that the blonde Hokage was waiting along with him. Naruto scoffed as he zoomed on ahead towards his mother and his sister with the intentions of leaving the man behind. Unfortunately, Minato Namikaze was not known as Konoha's no Kiroi Senko, Konoha's yellow flash, for nothing. In an instance, he was walking alongside of his speed-walking son casually. So Naruto-kun, Narumi-chan, how's school going? The boy didn't even glance at him as he gave a curt response, decent. Still shy, Narumi answered in a small voice, it's going okay. Kushina, hearing her son and daughter's withdrawn and rather non-informative answers, decided to supply a more informative answer. Narumi is excelling in every aspect of her class. Literally, she's number one in everything. With a prideful tone in her voice, she boasted. Naruto already completed the Fuinjutsu course for intermediates and his handwriting for calligraphy is absolutely flawless. On top of that, his IQ is equivalent to the level of the children of the prodigious Naruto. Naruto rolled his eyes but couldn't help the slight prideful swell of his ego. He tried to make his face impassive as much as possible but couldn't help the faint quirk of his lips. His sister, on the other hand, smiled brightly and seeing that her father was waiting with his hand in the air, gave him a high five as she giggled lightly. Naruto ignored his father's hand and continued speaking. Appreciate the words, Ka-san, but like I told you before, IQ tests doesn't measure everyone's IQ equally and accurately. It's not really fair for everyone. Besides, me being the only student in your class allows you to focus on me more. In addition to that, I am only good in Fuinjutsu because that's the only thing you teach. It doesn't change the fact you excelled at the capital's Fuinjutsu test. You got the top score out of hundreds of graduating academy students all at a young age. Minato wheeled onto his wife. Wait, is Narumi also homeschooled? No, the girl cheerfully quipped. I'd rather make friends and stuff, unlike Ni-san, who just wants to be a muscle-headed idiot. It's not like I don't want to go to school too, Naruto mumbled pitifully. Suddenly the last of Kushina's words registered in his head as Minato's eyes widened. In Konoha, most people who took up Fuinjutsu started around Chunin level. Starting and passing the test that was native to Uzushiogakure was nothing short of miraculously amazing for Chunins and Junins of Konoha's standard, though this was partially because they didn't specialize in Fuinjutsu. At 6 years old, that was just unbelievably incredible. Wow. Minato chuckled. You must have gotten your smarts from your mother, cause it sure isn't from me. Agreed, Naruto deadpanned. He most certainly didn't get his intelligence from this poor excuse of a man. Sochi, behave, Kushina admonished as she internally groaned. Every time Naruto got a bit upset, had become super curt and professional. He was still considered polite, but he was too polite, almost to the point it was considered rude. If that made sense, Kushina believed that that was the most advanced and sophisticated expression of anger for a 6-year-old child could show. And it was. I am behaving, Ka-san, Naruto innocently replied. Minato gave a good-natured laugh and waved Kushina off. Oh, it's fine, Kushina-chan. He just needs some food, I am sure, right, Naruto-kun? Naruto glared at the man for a brief second before shifting his expression to stoicism. Everyone needs food, Hokage-sama. Every living organism needs energy to live, and nearly everyone uses food as a source of energy. So yes, I, along with nearly every other being on this planet, do indeed need food. At these blunt and rude words, Narumi looked horrified. She turned her head between her father and her brother, conflicted and at a loss as to what to do. Minato rubbed his head sheepishly. I should have known that, sorry about that. Naruto rolled his eyes. Yeah, you should probably keep that piece of information retained inside the thick-headed hollow skull of yours. Naruto, respect your father. This isn't how I raised you. Kushina yelled angrily. Naruto clenched his jaws and wisely chose not to respond and kept silent as he picked up his pace to walk on ahead. The nonverbal response from her son made Kushina give another mental groan. Narumi shouted. She sent her father and mother an apologetic look before running after her brother. Wait for me. Great, Minato. Now he's angry, Kushina bemoaned. A guilty look flashed across Minato's face. I am sorry, Kushina. I am trying. I really am. But he's so angry with me, and he has every right to be. Stop sulking about that. We have more important things to be worried about. Minato frowned. What's more important than me earning his? Now he's angry at both of us. You don't understand how hard it is to earn that boy's forgiveness, Kushina sighed. Minato turned his face with a raised eyebrow. What do you mean by that? Kushina let out another agonized moan. Damn it all. The next step in Naruto's anger was the quiet game. She had experienced it several months ago when she had announced that they, Narumi and Naruto, were visiting Konoha together. At first, her daughter and son had been ecstatic, but she made unfortunate mistake of mentioning Minato's name a week later. Her daughter didn't seem to mind much at all. In fact, she seemed a bit excited. If anything, however, her boy had a completely different reaction. Naruto had ignored her for 2 whole weeks. Kushina had thought that her son would come back in several hours, but she didn't take in the variable about her village's relation with her children and how it'd affect the duration of said silent treatment. Because they absolutely adored him. They adored Narumi just as much, but she was always out and about in the village, whereas seeing Naruto was a much more rare occasion. Well, every civilian, adult, children, young adults, and some mature teens did at least. How could they ignore a polite and absolutely adorable and endearing child such as her son? Eyes as blue as the deep ocean, whiskers of a fox and hair that matched the brightness of the sun. Already Kushina knew her son would be a complete heartthrob when he aged into a teen. Thus, he was never starving, his teaching was never neglected. In fact, he ate twice as much and his teaching was nearly tripled thanks to the little sly devil's innocent charisma. Naruto knew the village loved him. The boy loved them back very much so too. The little blonde genius took this fact into account for his training regimen. Usually, the son of Kushina's training was overseen by herself. There were strictly no ninjutsu, no exercises involving chakra, no genjutsu and no taijutsu, mainly calligraphy and lessons on fuinjutsu. So, the little devil talked to the villagers and somehow got his hands on the academy jutsus and chakra control exercises. No one could turn down a blue-eyed blonde boy's pouting face that requested to see some cool basic jutsus. So he could impress his mother. For her upcoming birthday, nearly everyone swooned and fell over immediately at thoughtfulness of such an innocent and sweet child. So, starting since around 3 months and a half ago, 6-year-old Naruto was now equipped with various chakra-controlling exercises, and worst of all, he knew how to perform a henge that was considered complete, and it was absolutely flawless. Looks, physiology, scent, and he was solid. Naruto could perform the perfect henge. It was impenetrable and it was impossible to detect. No chakra sensors could do it. His signature was completely erased and he imitated whoever's signature perfectly. In short, it was a nightmare. As driven as Naruto was being towards a shinobi, even he gets bored from time to time, and he always had a little vicious pranking streak. Now, his pranks were usually very basic and harmless, but his game had evolved ever since he discovered his henge was unique. So it was with great trepidation she felt when she lost her son in the sea of people bustling about. Minato looked at his wife with curiosity as she paled. Honey, are you alright? You look a little pale. Brace yourself, Minato, he's coming back with a vengeance. Huh, come on, the red-haired Uzumaki sighed, let's go get some food. What about our son? Asked a somewhat bewildered Minato. Well, get some to go for him, Kushina shrugged. I meant that should we go find. No point, but, Minato halted his words when he saw the glare his wife gave him. Just kidding, Kushina nodded with a smirk. The genocide's testimony X. Naruto scowled as he kicked at the rocks. Baka parents and their baka words and their baka personalities, Naruto muttered to himself, although he didn't know this area. He knew where he was going. It was strange, he's never told anyone about this, but somehow, he was always drawn towards nature and the wildlife. He didn't know what it was about nature, but it made him feel at peace and gave him a sense of tranquility. That's why he felt so great here, contrary to his attitude. Not even his mother knew of this. After all, a homeschooled boy was entitled to some privacy, right? Naruto was pulled out of his musings as he heard laughter of children stemming from what looked like a school. Because of his curious nature, the young blonde sauntered over to the large building with the giant kanji Huo sign on it. Bypassing the unfamiliar swing tied to a tree, Naruto made his way outside of the academy to the window where he heard laughter from. After struggling to peer over the window sill, the whiskered child was able to successfully view all the commotion that stemmed from inside. His curious eyes widened at seeing the amount of children in there. Since he was always homeschooled, he really hadn't seen that many children, especially since the population wasn't nearly as condensed. In the land of Whirlpool, crowds were only at the Ninja Academy and at the Uzukage's tower. Although Naruto was trying to be discreet, the Chunin of the room seemed to have noticed him. The man with the silver hair that hung down to his neck made eye contact with him. Quickly ducking, the azure-eyed blonde boy quickly scurried away. Mizuki frowned. Wasn't that the Hokage's son? He would have to report that to Hokage-sama later. The silver-haired Chunin pushed that thought to the side as he returned his attention on scolding the heirs of Inara, Akamichi, and an Inuzuka. Meanwhile, in the edge of a forest, Naruto panted heavily as he began wiping the beads of sweat coming down his head. It was to this sight his little sister came upon. Naru-ni, why do you keep being a butthead? Give me a pant. Minute. Naruto gathered breath. He was sure the teacher had seen him. He groaned. Now he's gonna tell that blasted man of a father. Narumi pouted. Sometimes, well, a lot of times, she never understood her older brother of a minute. Though her older brother was confusing, that attribute didn't stop her from going to him and glomping him. Naruto let out an oof. As Narumi weight forced him onto the ground. Ni-san, quit being an idiot and be nice for once. I am nice, Naruto argued. Didn't you hear what Ka-san said? We should try listening to her for once. You're already doing it for the both of us, came the sharp reply. Narumi looked shocked as she stood back up. You mad at me? Hurt was evident in her voice. Guilt flashed on the face of the elder of the twins. Naruto said quickly, look, Mi-chan, it's not as easy for you as it is for me. Tears brimming on her violet eyes, Narumi crossed her arms and looked away. Why is that? Naruto quickly got up and closed in on his little sister. He grabbed her shoulders and faced her towards him. Because you're so amazing and nice. At her intense blush, Naruto knew he secured forgiveness and victory. The whiskered boy continued, me on the other hand. I am just an angry brat. Nice isn't in my bones, unlike my stupendously gifted Imouto. At her giggle, she sighed over dramatically. Fine, I guess I can forgive you, but, she hesitated in her next words. She took a deep breath and ventured on, only if you stay. Immediately, Naruto knew what she was talking about and he took a step back. No, he narrowed his eyes, I won't ever entertain those thoughts, and you? No, of course not, but if you were going to stay I probably would've. Narumi, don't lie to me. I am serious. Naruto glared at her. The younger of the two faltered. I may have been thinking about it. Narumi crouched and hid her face between her legs, already cringing at the yelling and lecture she was about to receive. Instead she heard her brother's seething voice from far away. Good, your two-san will be happy. The genocide's testimony X. After getting some Ichiraku ramen, Minato and Kushina ordered some to go and saved it for their children. They then quickly discussed their next plan of action when Mizuki gave him a report. The Yondaime quickly formed a plan. Curiosity killed the cat, Minato gleefully thought before frowning. He should be thinking about that particular phrase and his son at the time. The Yondaime Hokage revised his thought. Curiosity didn't kill the cat, it caught the cat. There, that's much better. Minato thought with satisfaction. After all, Kushina-chan would be mad if she knew I referred to that phrase about our son. Minato folded his arms across his chest and rotated his chair towards the view that the Hokage room provided. He had stayed overnight in the office when Mizuki reported that he had seen Naruto poke his head into the classroom window with curiosity on his face. So he spent the whole night going over as to why his son would be so curious towards the classroom. He briefly recalled Kushina saying that Naruto wasn't enrolled at Uzushiogeku's academy this year like all the other children because he was just simply way too advanced for the year. Actually, his intelligence and skills was probably similar to a last-year academy student borderlining genin. Probably, though he didn't really know, cause he hasn't seen the full extent of his son's intelligence and prowess, therefore he couldn't make an accurate judgment. He was actually going with a lower estimate simply not to overestimate. And his son was only 6. It just went to show how much a genius and prodigy the little whiskered boy was. Although Minato didn't have any hands in teaching the boy, his chest swelled with pride at thought of how smart his son was. Even though his relationship with his son was strained and that was putting it mildly, he planned on fixing it as soon as he could. So he theorized as to why Naruto would do that and came up with several ideas but ultimately settled that Naruto was curious as to the experiencing a regular setting with children his own age. So he planned a little field trip for his dear son. Knock, knock, knock. Seems like they are here, Minato cheerfully thought. The Yondaime Hokage cleared his throat. Ahem, come in. Minato, why is your secretary an idiot? Kushina yelled. What happened this time? Minato asked nervously. This wasn't exactly the first time his secretary and his wife had a not so pleasant encounter. The first time Kushina had visited, his secretary wouldn't let her in because the secretary was new to Hai no Kuni, Land of Fire, and wasn't aware of the ties between Uzushiogekure and Konohagakure. Hence, not really knowing who exactly Kushina Uzumaki Namikaze was and assumed that the redhead was another fangirl of the Hokage. That bitch wouldn't let me in again. And she did it on purpose this time. Kushina yelled. Minato groaned. Hi my dear wife, I'll replace her with a more competent secretary nay. Kushina huffed. You better. Ka-san, may we come in now? Naruto peeked his head around the door entrance with his fingers plugged in his ears to dull his hearing senses, his sister mirroring his actions as she peeked around inside as well. His mother had told them to plug their ears while she talked to the idiot desk lady and their father. Narumi happily complied while Naruto listened in gleefully. The scarlet-haired woman gave her children a nod and gestured them over. Did you hear any bad words? Immediately, Naruto started listing off as many bad words he knew, even if he didn't hear it come from his mother's mouth while Narumi held a hand to her mouth, struggling to contain the giggle. What? It was fun to piss people off. Damn, hell, ass, anus, bitch, shit, fucker, tit, cunt, whore, hoe, hoebag, nuts, nipples, prostitute. Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, how dare you utter those words? Naruto decided to make good use of his father and ignored his mother's rant by cutting her off. He looked at the eldest blonde coolly. Is there a reason why your daughter and I was brought along, Hokage-sama? Minato finally took a good look at his family. His son and daughter haven't made eye contact once and were standing as far away as they could be. The way he spoke about his sister suggested that Naruto and Narumi had a fight. He would delve more into that later. Ah, Naruto-kun, how are you doing? And to answer your question, I have a gift for you. Naruto, despite harboring some negative emotions towards his father, perked up at these words. Though he tried keeping an impassive face. Even if he was mature and intelligent, he was still a child. And every child loved gifts. Minato smiled at the notable reaction. Seems like I am doing something right. The Yondaime gave a wink at his pouting daughter. And don't worry Narumi-chan. I have a gift for you too. Narumi squealed in delight. Kushina observed the interaction between the three with innate happiness and a side of confusion. Although this was looking more like what she had planned for her mini-family reunion, she couldn't but help to see the tension between her firstborns. Naruto. Alongside Narumi, couldn't help but bounce ever so slightly on the tip of his feet in eagerness. What is it? I am gonna take you to school. Minato cheerfully expanded. Kushina face-palmed. This was the gift he was talking about. He had mentioned this yesterday, that this could be a possible solution to their, Naruto and Minato's rocky relationship, but seriously. She knew her son better than that. What was her husband on about? This would obviously cause a deeper resentment in Naruto. Boys wanted huge swords and... Really? Freakin' awesome. Naruto whispered. Barely able to contain his excitement, Narumi gave a bright smile at this. Her brother would finally make some friends and she'd be able to make some new ones too. Minato sported a pleased smile while Kushina stood with a stupefied expression. Narumi squealed loudly, "Thank you too, San. This is gonna be so awesome, TT Ebane." Naruto bowed. "Thank you, Hokage-sama." This time, there was no hint of resentment in his words. This was a genuine thank you. Maybe he isn't so bad after all, Naruto briefly thought. May I go now? Naruto asked. Minato chuckled. You already know where it is. I may have passed by it yesterday. Naruto half told the truth, not revealing the fact that he practically spied on the class. Then you may go. Minato was about to voice the fact that he already knew Naruto observed the academy for several hours but decided against it. Thank goodness Mizuki sent a message to him. Minato was quick enough to use the all-seeing crystal ball and saw that there was longing on the boy's face. So he figured that his son wanted to be in a setting with children his own age that would be accepting of him, hence the idea of sending him to the academy as a gift of sorts. Kushina caught her son. Now just wait a minute, you don't need to go to school with them if you don't want to. Naruto sent her a puzzled look, but I want to. The redhead daughter sent her daughter a questioning look, and why do you want to go? I want more friends, Narumi admitted rather shamefully. What's wrong with the ones you have back at home? Naruto decided to interject. Leave her alone, Ka-san. It'll be easier for her to transition here once she has friends. Quickly, Minato and Kushina wore shocked faces as they heard the words of their son. Quickly, Minato's visage morphed into pure happiness while Kushina frowned the tiniest bit. The mother spoke first. So you decided, Rumi-chan? Narumi glared at her brother's indifferent face before looking at the ground. Well, it's not for sure, but I don't know, Ka-san. I sort of wanted to see how going to school would be first. Kushina sighed. I understand. Go then, enjoy school and make lots of friends, okay? Narumi looked unsure as to what to do. Should she actually go? Or was this some kind of test, that one thing her brother always mentioned? Reverse pedestrians. No, that wasn't right. It was reverse physicians. No, that wasn't right either. This was so annoying. Narumi Namikaze Uzumaki. I promise this isn't a trick. Kushina continued softly. Go, have fun and be good, okay? Narumi nodded and quickly hugged her mother before running over to her father too, giving him a brief hug as well. She looked around for her elder brother to give him a piece of her mind, but he was nowhere to be found. Most likely, he already left to the academy. Gah, that idiot! Narumi yelled as she ran out the Hokage office. I don't know where the academy is. Kushina went to the window and punched it, effectively breaking it into a million pieces. She saw her daughter running along the street and she quickly yelled, behave or no more ramen. Minato whimpered. That window costs so much money. Kushina sighed once more and turned to see Minato sending her a smug look, which she returned with a pointed glare. However, her glare eventually fell into a face of depression as she turned back to the streets of Konoha. Noticing this, Minato quickly got behind her and rubbed shoulders lovingly. It will be fine, Kushina. It's not like you won't ever see her again if she decides to stay. The wife of the Hokage let out yet another sigh. She knew her husband was right. There was no point in getting sad and sullen. If her daughter decided to stay, then she'd just have to visit more often. She turned to her husband. So, how'd I do? Minato cheekily asked. Kushina scoffed. You got lucky. Narumi-chan. Come over here. Narumi-chan. Forget her. Come over here. Yo Naruto. Come over here with us. Narumi beamed and waved at everyone as he walked by them all. It's been nearly a whole week since she's joined the other academy students in their academy curriculum, and it went extremely well. She got along with everyone very well, and she noted he received extra attention from the male populace of the class. However, just like herself, her brother received just as much attention. much to her annoyance. She wasn't jealous of how popular he was, but rather that all the damn hussies were. "Naruto-kun," squealed a random girl, "come hang out with us. Are you free after school?" "Back off. He wants a shinobi girl, not no civilian girl. Isn't that right, Naruto-kun?" Yamanaka Ino spoke, hearts in her eyes. "Back off, Ino pig. Go back to Sasuke," Sakura nearly screeched. Ino flipped her hair with haughtiness. "No forehead. Why have one when I can have both?" Narumi's eye twitched as the two girls argued back and forth. The amount of attention her brother was receiving from the females was not sitting well with her. Normally, she'd lash out at these hoots, but she and Naruto still weren't really speaking to each other at all. Naruto politely declined the various requests for him to hang out with their group to go sit with a certain person he felt somewhat connected to. Uchiha Sasuke. The raven-haired boy wore a high-collared blue t-shirt along with white cargo shorts. On the back of his shirt was his clan symbol, in addition to the charcoal-eyed child wore sandals. His outfit contrasted with Naruto's own, seeing as to how the blonde boy wore a white shirt with his village insignia of a spiral on both shoulders. Accompanying his shirt was a tanned pair of shorts that fell right above his knees. To complete his rather simple outfit, he wore simple black sandals. Naruto cheerfully greeted one of the few friends he made. "Sup, Sasuke?" The black-eyed child glanced at the blonde. "Oh, it's just you, Naruto. That's not how a friend properly greets his friend. You're more of an acquaintance," Sasuke deadpanned. Naruto scoffed. "PFT, that's why you let me sit next to you." "Whatever," Sasuke muttered with an embarrassed blush. Naruto roared with laughter. "Ha! Look, the Uchiha is blushing." "Shut the hell up, Naruto," Sasuke hissed. Naruto simply shook his head. The damage was already done. Already, girls were flocking over to see the infamously cool Uchiha blushing. After all, Sasuke showing any emotion besides cool was incredibly rare. Naruto was holding his stomach in laughter when he heard a low groan. We're like barely 6 years old. We should be napping. Naruto, quit being so troublesome." The voice belonged to the other friend he had managed to make. The azure-eyed child glanced at his lazy friend with a pineapple-styled hair who was currently resting his head on hands face down on the desk. Come on, Shika. You spend half your day napping anyways. Liven up. "Whatever," the Nara muttered before turning to face the blonde from the face-down position. "Still, shogi later?" Shikamaru casually asked. Naruto smirked, still upset. Shikamaru's bored expression turned into an annoyed glare. "I don't know what method you used, but rest assured, I will beat you." Naruto laughed. "Sewer," he drawled out, "and villages offer sweet maidens as tribute to an infant-eating demon, otherwise they'd be forced to eat their family but end up dying a slow death anyways." Shikamaru raised an eyebrow. "That's dark, dude." Sasuke chimed in, having batted away the majority of the fangirls. "Almost as bad as a clan massacre." Naruto rolled his eyes. "It's not as bad, Sasuke, it's worse." Both Nara and Uchiha contemplated for a moment before promptly agreeing. Naruto yawned. "Anyways, sorry Shika, but I am not gonna be able to go play shogi today because I need to talk to my mom about going home." Sasuke frowned. "I don't get it. Your dad is the Hokage. Doesn't this make Konoha your home? This way your sister, Hokage-sama and Kushina-sama could live together. Wouldn't that be better for you guys? In addition to that, didn't you say your sister was staying anyways?" Naruto, not really wanting to discuss his family issues, shrugged neutrally and answered with a nicely disguised evasive answer. "I was born in Uzushiogakure and I like it there, but you know, I suppose I wouldn't mind staying here, but the land of Whirlpool is home for me." Sasuke nodded, being content with what he heard as an answer, while Shikamaru tilted his head in curiosity. Something seemed off about Naruto's answer that seemed vague but sort of specific at the same time. There was definitely more to what he said. Perhaps he would ask Naruto's sister. "Oh look, the teacher's about to enter the room," Naruto stated while looking at the door. Shikamaru mentally shrugged his newfound friend's answer off and went back to resume his nap while Sasuke looked at the door with expectation. Naruto seemed to be able to predict whenever someone was near or coming. Similar to that of a human radar. Freaking weird if you asked the Uchiha. The pig-tailed blonde played with one of her bundles of hair absent-mindedly, all the while staring at her elder brother. It was unfair how easily he transitioned into this new environment for him. She herself made some friends, but he was already close to a few of them. She was ashamed to admit it, but she was sort of jealous. Narumi knew she shouldn't be because this was the first time her brother had a chance to actually make friends. It was just with slight frustration and envy at the fact that it seemed so damn easy for her brother to obtain close friends in such a short time. Plus, how could he be so easygoing when they were fighting with each other? Uchiha Sasuke and Nara Shikamaru were too close to her brother. She frowned. Now that she thought about it, where was her closest friend she had made? She should have been here by now. Don't hurt yourself trying to think, Narumi, a charcoal-eyed girl said as she took the seat next to the blonde. Narumi smiled. Satsuki-chan, she said loudly. Naruto and Sasuke looked back. Satsuki stared impassively at her brother. Sasuke scoffed. I hate her. Naruto blinked. Why, you guys are twins, right? So, you and Narumi are twins. I don't see you two being all up on each other lovey-dovey. An awkward smile appeared on the whiskered boy's face. Ah, well, you know, it's cause class is starting. The genocide's testimony. Naruto, feeling that he had already learned enough of the other great hidden villages, decided to slip out unnoticed. After all, what was the point of learning something if you already knew all about it? After successfully giving everyone, including his sister, a sneaky slip, Naruto headed to their temporary abode at the hotel that was near the Hokage Tower. The Hokage had tried getting them to stay at his estate, but his mother declined, for Naruto's sake. Naruto knew it wasn't right, but he was still angry. He didn't understand why his mother wasn't angry at all with her husband, so he was glad that they didn't have to see that accursed man 24/7. Checking in, the receptionist squealed as she recognized the cute little blonde. Naruto gave a polite bow after she gave him a keycard to enter the room, which elicited another squeal of kawaii from the rather young lady. After Naruto managed to narrowly escape the desk lady's grasps, he slid his security card on the door panel next to his room. Pushing the door open, Naruto was curious to see his mother already packing up. Ka-chan. Kushina looked up and her face brightened up at seeing her adorable son entering the room. She quickly waved her son over. Naru-chan. You're already back. She frowned. Where's Rumi-chan? She glanced at the clock before narrowing her eyes at a nervous blonde boy. Sochi, did you skip class? What? No. Of course not. Naruto immediately replied whilst looking up at anything but her smoldering gaze. Naruto. Kushina spoke warningly. Finally breaking under the intense pressure, Naruto looked down in defeat and cried out in shameful admittance, okay. Yes, I did skip. He looked at his mom with a pout, but I only skipped because I knew everything and it's so boring. The teacher was talking about the relationship between Uzushiogakure and Konoha, and we've studied that years ago. The whiskered boy complained. Kushina couldn't help but laugh at her boy's antics. One moment he was a child with the mental development of a Nara, and the next he was a child. As he should be. And she loved when he was a kid and acted like one. Sure, she was proud of the fact that her child was intelligent, but sometimes it was as if the boy was already an experienced shinobi. Pushing these thoughts aside, Kushina laughed lightly. It's okay, Sochi. Back in my days, I would always skip school to eat some ramen datbei na. We're getting off topic. Go pack up your stuff, we're going home soon. You're already done with meeting the Hokage. Kushina frowned slightly at the fact that Naruto still didn't refer to his father as his father but instead a formal moniker. She gave her son a small smile. I did everything I came to do. It was true. She had already received several dosage of the Shodaime Hokage's blood while Naruto temporarily went to the academy. Although telling her son wouldn't be harmful from the boy himself, he might accidentally blabber about it, genius child or not. Naruto shrugged at her slightly cryptic answer and packed all his clothing into his bag within moments. He didn't need to pack much. Just several changes of clothes and basic cleaning utensils were good enough for him, so it didn't take as long to pack up. After exiting his room with his pack in tow, he looked expectantly at his mother. When do we leave, Ka-chan? Kushina held an over-enthusiastic thinking pose. We could go in 3 nights. She feigned ignorance towards Naruto's pronounced frown. Or, I guess, we could go home right now and see your family sooner, nay. Kasumi-chan. To Yuya-chan. Naruto jumped around spontaneously while he let out an excited whooping noise as his mother smiled happily. The excited and eager yelling died down as Naruto came to a standstill. The blonde child had a frown on his face. Naru-chan. What's wrong? I just didn't know we were leaving so soon. He was hesitant with next words. You think I can go to the academy to say bye to my friends? Kushina gave her son a warm smile. Of course you can, Sochi. This was what she wanted. Her son to have a better childhood experience, no, an actual childhood experience, because of his incredible ingenuity and skills at such a young age. He was often ignored by the older children around his grade school. In Uzu, the starting academy age was 6, not a barely turned 4-year-old boy like when Naruto had started. She recalled vividly once there was a time when Naruto had to take the standardized Capital Academy test to be certified in intermediate Fuinjutsu. Her son had tried to make some friends while waiting for the test, seeing as to how they got there early but was quickly shot down when the older children scoffed and looked down at him. They obviously didn't believe that a child that young was actually there to take the test for what they were taking it for. However, Naruto, being the mentally advanced child he was, took this all in stride and decided that he'd be able to be their friends if he topped their scores. Kushina recalled that Naruto's thought process was something along the lines of them wouldn't not being able to look down on him if he received top marks. Him receiving top marks would surely make them look upon him, at the very least, as equals. So, following that thought, he believed he'd receive respect, whether it was received begrudgingly or not. He should get some form of equal standings among the older students. Right, obviously, when the youngest test taker received top marks, it didn't sit too well with the elder test participants and they simply ridiculed her Sochi by saying he cheated mixed with some other stupid nonsense. Yet, Naruto bounced back immediately and shrugged it off. Yet, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how one looked at it, it seemed this encounter had altered his outlook on life. And by all means, his initial take on how to tackle life was as tactical as it got. He handled every situation in life with the power of perspective, reasoning, and deduction, but her son lacked one thing when it came to dealing with the real world. Experience. To get a good grasp on anything, metaphorically, one must obtain experience first. Naruto was 6. Not much experience he could have gotten at such a young age. Even so, her son had realized that life wasn't all numbers and theories. No. He decided that a third factor should be added into his equation and that final variable he needed was experience. When Kushina had heard what had happened from her son, she was heartbroken at first but her feelings later turned into prideful joy at the valuable life lesson her son had learnt. Pushing her reminiscing aside, she threw a stern look on her face. But be back here by noon with Narumi. We don't want to keep Kasumi-chan waiting. Understand? Naruto tchd at the fact he'd have to bring his sister home but otherwise left to complete his assigned task. The genocide's testimony. Naruto waited patiently against a wall at the east gate of Konohagakure no Sato as his mother conversed lightly with her husband, Narumi sobbing, hugging their mother. The whiskered blonde found himself edging towards the greenery before his mother called over to him. Naru-chan, come over here. Obliging to his mother's words, the boy walked over with a neutral expression. He found that his relationship with his father barely improved while him and Narumi's were at a standstill. He didn't harbor too much animosity towards his blood father but it was still there as a tiny portion of bitterness that resided in his guts. If someone else were in his position, he was pretty sure that the hypothetical person would also be angry. Especially if they were only 6 years old. Naruto gave a small but polite bow to his father. Thank you for accommodating us and welcoming us, Hokage-sama. Hearing that, Minato gave a sad smile. Looks like he wasn't able to crack through his son's tough exterior this time. His face lit up with a determined expression. There was going to be more opportunities to come for sure. It's only natural for a father to. Naruto. We're right here. Don't be such a drag. Shut up, Dobi. So troublesome. Naruto spotted 3 figures small in stature heading towards him, immediately recognizing the pineapple-shaped hair belonging to Inara and the spiky hair of an Uchiha. He then realized that the third figure was Satsuki, Sasuke's twin sister. Naruto pointed towards his 2 friends. Look, Ka-san. These are the friends I made. Uchiha Sasuke and Nara Shikamaru. Shiki is a lazy bonehead but he's actually pretty smart. Actually he's really smart. He's smarter than me. And Sasuke. Sasuke is just a pretty boy who tries to act all cool by being emo-ish and Satsuki is, he supposed he'd have to say something nice about her as well. Satsuki is Sasuke's older sister too. They're twins, just like me and Narumi, but personally, I think she's much more enjoyable to be around than Sasuke. First of all, she's way more prettier than Sasuke, and she's more sociable than him. Actually, you know what? She's nicer than him in weight. Naruto blinked. He stared at Sasuke. Why the hell do I hang out with you instead of her? Satsuki looked away towards the side as a massive and intense blush adorned her face. You don't have to say those things just to be nice, Baka. Narumi took a second out of her hugging her mother moment to glare at her closest friend, something only Minato and Kushina noticed. Naruto dismissed Satsuki's comment with a wave. I am not being nice. Anyways, you three should visit Uzu one day. I am pretty sure my sister and the Hokage can do something, maybe send you guys with an envoy or something. As the boy blabbered on about a reunion, Kushina picked up Narumi with a tight hug. It'll be okay, Rumi-chan. I'll visit lots and you'll visit. Okay. Narumi sniffled at her mother's words and nodded. The girl glanced longingly at her elder twin brother. Seeing this, Kushina urged her daughter on. Go on. Go give him a proper goodbye. Hearing the words from her mother, Narumi charged at Naruto. Ni-san. She bawled. Naruto was half tempted to sidestep his sister's attempt at tackling him but ultimately decided to bear with it. TT probably would not sit well with his mother if he ignored his sister. He awkwardly patted her back as she wailed out sorry after sorry. He didn't say much. In fact, he didn't say anything at all. Eventually his sister accepted this fact and slowly went to stand by Minato's side. Naruto politely bowed to the Hokage and waved a quick goodbye to everyone, even his sister, who returned a wave with a bright smile. Naruto, however, quickly walked off and Narumi once again found herself in a slump of slight depression. It was little comfort that her father placed his hand on her head. Come on, Narumi-chan. It'll be okay. After Kushina ran to her daughter and embraced her once more in a tight hug before embarking on the journey back to Uzu. Several minutes later, Naruto and Kushina found themselves walking away from the gates, all the while waving back at the Yondaime and the three children that had come to send him off. Once out of sight, Kushina lifted her child onto her shoulders. Naruto-chan, how are you feeling? Code 4. How do you feel about your sister staying in Konoha? Naruto shrugged. I am okay. Translation, it's whatever. The elder of the two rolled her eyes. Okay, and what do you think of your dad? The Hokage, Naruto corrected, is not that bad. Seeing the smile on his mother's face, he immediately added to his statement, but he's still an asshole out. Language. You pinched me, Naruto accused, and I will again if you don't stop cursing. Kushina scolded with a smile. But you curse all the damn time, Itai. Language. The genocide's testimony. Sochi. Get down here before you get hurt. Kushina called out to her son worryingly. It had been almost 2 weeks since they left and needless to say, her Sochi had become a bit restless. But I have to get training in somehow. Naruto replied. Besides, I am not even that high up. The red-haired mother pinched the bridge of her nose annoyingly. She was now sincerely regretting ever teaching her son about the most basic of chakra-controlling techniques. She told him the application of the leaf training Konoha used and in less than a week, he was walking up and down trees and walls. Get your tush down here before I come up there. Kushina threatened. Naruto held his hands up in a surrendering fashion. Yes, master. Don't call me that. Kushina snapped. Naruto giggled as he jogged down the 15-foot tree. He always loved being close to nature, particularly the woods and thick forestry. Training was a nice excuse to be near the trees and just nature itself. If he truly had to prioritize whether he was near nature for the state of mind and rightness he felt or simply training his chakra control, he'd have to go with training his chakra control. Or maybe it was the other way around. Naruto shrugged as he reached the base of the trees. He didn't want to think too hard. This was one of the few things that he couldn't come to a conclusion with logic alone. I love you, Ka-san. Naruto sang as he went to reach for his mother's hand. Kushina sighed but a small smile found itself on her face. I love you too, Sochi. Will you let me take the genin exam then? No. But Naruto whined. 'Cause you're a child. But I am a prodigy. The blue-eyed blonde argued arrogantly. The wife of the Yondaime sighed once again. We've been through this, Sochi. Besides, you don't even know the Kawarimi no Jutsu, body replacement technique, or the Bunshin no Jutsu, clone technique, so you would end up failing anyways. But I can pass the other 5 portions of the practical exam. I know I can henge. I aced the Fuinjutsu portion no problem. I can beat the standard genin obstacle course with ease. My taijutsu is sufficient enough to get by. I can throw the kunais and shurikens accurately, and on top of all that, I know how to utilize chakra with my body. Naruto eagerly explained. Kushina narrowed her eyes and tightened her grips on her son's hand ever so slightly. Speaking of which, who taught you how to handle the kunais and shurikens? Naruto whistled innocently. Kushina shook her head. Damn village. I tell them every time not to teach you anything you shouldn't know. The blonde sent her a beaming smile. I am just too cute. Suddenly, the boy felt his cheeks being pulled in opposite directions painfully. What did I tell you about being arrogant? What it's faux stupid p weeple and thway wiww be wozer fovu. Naruto responded. What did you say? Naruto's mother viciously smirked. I shade. Naruto shook his face free from his mother's painful grasp and massaged his cheeks. That it's for stupid people and they will be losers forever. That's right. The young Uzumaki continued rubbing his cheeks soothingly to dull the ache. Did you have to pull so hard, Ka-san? That hurt. Aw my baby. See, I can't let you be a shinobi if a simple pinch to the cheeks hurt that bad. Naruto scowled and pouted while saying nothing, silent treatment for her. Kushina rolled her eyes. Are you mad at me, Sochi? Instead of replying, Naruto turned his face the other way childishly. I'll teach you the Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Not even a second later came his reply. Deal. Kushina smiled warmly. She loved when her child actually acted like a child. The genocide's testimony. Moonlight peering down on her. Kushina peered carefully around her settings for what seemed like the umpteenth time before gesturing Naruto to come closer. She looked overhead and nodded. There were no storms brewing. She whispered, Okay Sochi, all clear, ready. Naruto grinned and could hardly keep his eagerness contained. He whispered excitedly, yes. He couldn't wait to see the village and his family, even the distantly related ones. You know the drill. Hold on and don't let go, instructed Kushina. As soon as her son latched onto her leg, she molded her chakra and formed a seal. Tauten no Jutsu, transparency technique. In half a second Naruto and his mother were nearly invisible, bobbling along on his mother's leg. He paid little attention to when she leapt from the grassy area they were standing on to the shallow part of ocean. The part of the ocean where the tide lightly coasted the sand. He didn't know why they took so much precaution. The jutsu made it almost impossible for someone to catch sight of them. However, if one was keen enough, the jutsu wouldn't be so effective. Nothing was perfect. That's what his mother told him. Nothing is perfect, Sochi, remember that. 3-year-old Naruto widened his eyes. Not even you, Ka-san. Naruto giggled aloud when he recalled her briefly stupefied expression at his question. That face was just so damn funny. Kushina hushed her child. Quiet. What did I tell you about making noises when we're almost at the village seals? The Jinchuriki hissed. Naruto immediately shut himself up. After making sure her son wasn't going to speak or make noise, Kushina did another scan of her surroundings. Currently, they were on the secluded part of a shore that led to the vast oceans. Though it was night, the elder Uzumaki Namikaze had to make sure there was no one around. She closed her eyes and expanded her senses outwards. Satisfied that no one was around the immediate area, she carefully timed her next movement. Just as the tide came in around her feet, she lightly hopped back in an almost floating manner and let the surface of the powerful, yet gentle tide carry her towards the vast sea. The reason she had to time her graceful jump was to conceal any footprint that might have appeared, though she sure her chakra-applied feet didn't leave anything. Regardless, it never hurt to be too careful. Turning around, she hoisted Naruto onto her shoulders. Ready, Naru-chan? We're gonna start the walk so you can make noise now. She chuckled slightly when he immediately responded. Ka-san, can I try walking on the water? Please. No, you've just recently got the tree walking down, which you shouldn't even have in the first place. Before Naruto could whine again, Kushina gave a wicked grin. Besides Sochi, I don't want to walk, I want to run. Naruto yelped with glee as Kushina sprinted with chakra-enhanced speed. Once they reached quite a distance where the water was deep, she looked up at her son expectantly. Naruto clambered down to her waist and unclasped her scroll from her lower back. He hefted the sizable scroll over his mother's shoulder. Thanks, Sochi. Now hang on tight again. With a mighty heave, Kushina unfurled the scroll onto the surface of the calm water. many characters split from a massive circular array from the center of the scroll. Naruto held on tightly as the waters underneath them began moving towards the seal. Soon, the pull on the water shifted to create a whirlpool, and along with it, the intensity increased and both Uzumakis closed their eyes as they were pulled towards the innards of the chakra-synthesized vortex. The genocide's testimony. They emerged from a whirlpool in a completely different location and completely dry. Fuinjutsu never failed to amaze him. He couldn't wait for the day he would be able to completely understand the complexity of the high-level sealing techniques. Naruto looked around and nodded to himself. Looks like I was right about before. The location is based off of the user's Fuinjutsu scroll and not the location of the whirlpool. But he would have to look at the scroll to confirm. There might have been extra matrices and kanjis to support that kind of technique. This was only his third time ever leaving so far from any islands of Uzushiogakure. The first 2 times was simply to visit some of his mom's friends. Meeting them was interesting. Perverts, gambling addicts, and old people. Blah. Regardless, they were fun. Well, 2 of them were at least. The third one was creepy. As they stepped out of the large circular reservoir of water, Naruto looked back from his mom's back to the huge waterfall that fed the never-ending body of water. He loved that waterfall. It was just so cool. Lame reason, he knows, but there was just something about the trees and the waters and the grounds that just made him feel so energized. Did he mention that the circular lagoon never overflowed? Again, Fuinjutsu was so freaking amazing. Realizing that they were on the ground now, Naruto clambered off his mother and stretched his limbs. Kushina pouted. She loved carrying her son. Man, it feels good to be back here. He turned to his mom. I can't wait to get back to the village OOOMPH. A blur of red suddenly glomped onto the whiskered blonde. Naru-kun. Naruto giggled as held the girl in an embrace. Hi to you too, Kasumi Oni-chan. Don't call me that, Oni-chan. The redhead with her hair down to the back of her neck wore head in a bob-cut style. She wore a simple white dress. She, along with his sister and majority of the Uzumakis, had violet eyes. The blonde rolled his eyes. It's proper for me to address you like that. You are older than me, and you shouldn't call me Oni-chan either. Must I remind you that you're older than me by a solid 9 months? Call me Kasumi-chan. Kasumi growled out. Naruto sighed and held his hands up in defeat. Okay, Kasumi-chan. Wait. She paused. Is Narumi Baka actually staying there? Don't wanna talk about it, Naruto muttered. The 7-year-old shrugged and gave out a happy chirp before gushing about what she's done when he was gone. Kushina chuckled as she recognized her niece thrice removed an. No idea if I am using this right. Tackle her son. She walked over to the downed children. What about me, Kasumi-chan? The elder Uzumaki pouted. Kasumi peeked out from her distant cousin's chest. Hi, Auntie Kushina. And went back to rubbing her cheeks affectionately against the chest she was encapsulated in. Despite her being older than him, Naruto managed to grasp the redhead and held her high in the air with chakra-enhanced muscle. He placed her upon his shoulder and steadied himself as he swayed to accommodate the extra weight. Kushina smiled lovingly as her son shouldered Kasumi before giggling. It's so funny seeing Sochi be an older figure to Kasumi-chan even though she's almost a year older. Her face turned sad at her next thoughts. Narumi would be so angry at them right now for being affectionate with each other. Dispelling her thoughts, she watched the 2 children walking in front of her, thanked Kami for Kasumi, a child around Naruto's age that spent time with him. There were only a couple of children that interacted with him and she was literally one half of the children. She walked ahead and told the 2 kids to catch up. Naruto called out to his mother, are you going to be seeing the Uzukage? After we get settled in. His mother replied while yawning. Naruto grinned, yada, that means I can get some of that training you promised me, nay. Maybe even that Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Kushina let out a loud laugh. Silly Naru, I never said when I'd teach you. Thanks for watching.